then and what we see now. The Boracay Island was closed from April 26th, and then since then the tourists were not allowed to come to the island. Only the local residents who work and study here can stay on this island. This is the only section from sunrise to sundown that is open to public. People can swim here. There's no boat going to the ocean, but it is allowed for local residents to do fishing, riding their own boats and ships. Before it was closed, the Boracay Island there were a lot of rumors of this closure, but it was only after April that things became clear and was finally closed. There were a lot of Chinese tourists, especially from China, especially from this year's January to April. It was up by 52%. So China ranked after the South Korea as the second source of tourists to Boracay Island. It will soon surpass South Korea to become #1. Back in 2017, the number of tourists exceeds 2 million, and China accounted for more than any other countries. This is actually a very good thing. But why did the Philippines government close down this tourist destination? Let's take a look at a video clip before the closure of this island so that you can have a direct look at this island. So the clip we're showing you at the right-hand side is the situation before the closing down of the Boracay Island. From the comparison of these two pictures, of these two videos, you can have a very clear look of the situation in the past. There were a lot of tourists, almost shoulder to shoulder, foot to foot, conducting some recreational activities such as the banana boats and sailing. So Boracay Island is famous for its sea voyage, the cruise, and the tourist can take a very particular kind of boat called the crab boat to go into the ocean. Between different islands, there are no roads, so the only thing to travel from one island to another is through boats. And you can have a picnic on another island and probably participate in cliff diving, one of the most popular activity. And we also have snorkeling, sailing, banana boat, many activities at the beach. So most of them are related to water, to seawater, but there were some problems with the sea waters, right? The reason to constitute this problem is similar to that of the Bali Island. It's not similar to Bali Island, which is mainly because of the garbage. In the Boracay Island, the biggest problem is the treatment of sewage. So there is a serious water contamination situation, in a lot of coastal hotels. The sewage was admitted to the ocean without any water processing treatment. Therefore, the E. coli in the ocean has exceeded the standard. That's why the government decided to close down this island to do some treatment. You cannot directly see the existence of E. coli, of course, from the ocean water, but you can see very clearly through some micro detection. At that time, the level of E. coli is 400 times higher than the standard. Therefore, it's basically a sewage tank. We have to close it down to check, for example, the water treatment system of the hotels, of the restaurant, in order to protect the local environment and to prevent this pollution discharge from contaminating the local ecological condition. About more than 60% of the Philippines applauded the decision. They believe that the closing down of the island can help the ecological condition recover. That is, the majority of people applauded this decision. They firmly believe that this will help the environment to recover. There were a lot of rumors at the beginning of this year about the closing down of the island. Some people say it will be a total close down. Some people say it will be a partial breakdown. What were your feelings when you heard these rumors? A long time ago, we were discussing with some of the other managers. We said that we only have one Boracay island. Should we protect it more? In the opinion of some businessmen, they think that this is not the only island in the world. If it's contaminated, we can just move to other planets, move to other islands. But we believe that Boracay Islands is one of the best tourist destinations in the Philippines. We should protect it more. I received a higher education in China, and the Chinese people attaches great importance to sustainable development. But the Philippines are not aware of this environmental problem as we Chinese do, so they do not attach the same importance to the thing as we do. Therefore, I believe the closure of the island is a good thing. I support the president and the government decision on closing down this island. We support their policy, and we also applauded the government decision to save the environment. I believe this place is a treasure in our country. As the local residents, I support this decision, but up to a certain point. A lot of travel agencies and hotels, a lot of them are my colleagues and my friends. They suffered a lot of economic damages due to this decision. Almost all the bookings were canceled, and the clients were asking for refunds, and the hotel industry here were heavily struck. It's such a long time without any guests, and the hotel have to spend a lot of fees for maintenance. Therefore, it is unsustainable for them. And also there is a problem of the loss of talent. Right now, it's actually disaster state here in Boracay Island. Almost looks like a natural disaster, but we do not have as much this kind of compensation from the government as natural disasters. If you work here, you can have about 600 RMB in compensation, which is quite small. This is far from enough to make a living here. $600 for a month is far from enough. The Ministry of Labor does not allow us to send the employees away. The employees are now taking vacations. But the business have to cut their costs. But under such government policy, when their income were affected, they have to leave the island to seek other ways to make a living. Therefore, economically and in terms of talent, we suffered a lot because of this closure. And the longer the closing is, the bigger our loss would be. Now you can see that the island is raining heavily, and we would find a place, a shelter. I don't think the coconut trees are helping a lot. We mentioned that the Boracay Island was closed down on April the 26th under presidential order. I was curious about the situation after the closing down. I experiencing this whole island, a whole process of coming to this island, because in order for you to come to this island during this closure, you have to check the license. We have to issue an application at the tourism authority, and then get a special permission to come to the island. We also need to take a boat at the dock. And now we have to, and also we needed to go through a very strict process to verify our license and permissions. I'm right now at the dock, which is basically the only entrance to go to Boracay Island. But this place is no longer open to tourists. There are two lines here. On my right-hand side are the workers on Long Island, and the left-hand side are the lines and the queues for the local residents. Now we can see that the staff members here are checking the permits. Now we have the media permits at our hands. The local officials would have to check our license and permissions for us to enter this island.
Yes.
Where is your destination in Boracay?
Casapillar Resort.
Okay, can you sign in?
Okay.
Stamp?
On the where?
Here.
Okay. Thank you so much. 我们手上呢现在盖上了这样一个准入的章，那么现在呢我们就有权限进入到长滩岛去。
Right now, I have the stamp on my wrist. That is my pass to Boracay Island. Now let's follow our camera to go to Boracay Island in its closure time.
我们在这个从刚才的这个片段可以看出啊，长滩岛它的整治措施之一
From the clip we've just shown you, it is clear that the control of personnel into the island is one of the major measures. Other measures including tearing down the illegal constructions or buildings within 25 meters of the shoreline. The roads on the island will also be expanded so as to another measure is to install the sewage treatment system on this island. So we are at the 30 meters from the shoreline. So this 30-meter limits was first raised back in the year of 2009. The highest level of tide is the starting it's considered the shoreline, and then from that line to 25 meters into the inland will be the area that is forbidden to have any construction on it. There already are a lot of construction that were torn down. For example, this used to be a stage for a very famous local fire dance performance that was torn down during the closure. Therefore, this policy is not adapted today. It was adopted a long time ago, and was abolished and then readopted back and forth many times. But this time, the president really set up his mind to implement this policy, this 30-meter limits. If you go through this shoreline, you can see a lot of constructions with some words saying that +1 meters or +1.5 meters. Those constructions are off limits, and they will be torn down during the closure. This used to be a place for dining and for fire dance performance, as our manager said. This fire dance is quite an iconic performance here. So if this island reopens, we strongly suggest that you come here and enjoy this performance. We talked about the 30-meter limit. No architecture or buildings were allowed. Any of them off limits will be torn down. Boracay Island is not quite big, and it's very convenient to get from the main road to the beach. Let's go over to the main road. This would be the recreational beach area, very beautiful. But if we take a look at the main road, it's quite messy because it's still undergoing some reconstruction and reformation. During the closure, the government intended to expand this road. In the past, the width of the road is about 4 to 5 meters. And according to the government policy, it has to be about 12 meters after this restoration. Therefore, many roadside construction will have to be torn down. Beneath the road, the government will also be installing sewage treatment pipelines to facilitate water processing. Therefore, you can see very busy construction going on along the main roads. It's been 2 months since the closing down. The projects are proceeding smoothly. This is, of course, in a tropical area where weather is very hot. At noon, at the hottest hours, the construction work still goes on. Here you can see some very old constructions. This post here. You can see some tricycles, which is also quite iconic, and also the major means of transportation here. But according to government policy, these old-style tricycles will no longer be allowed in the future, and because they are quite noisy and it will pollute the environment. The emission is very damaging. And these electric tricycle will take its place instead. Here we can see that the truck here is it's doing some digging here on this road. Local residents told me that the expansion of the road is necessary because here it's very densely populated and there are a lot of traffic jams. It's a good thing for local residents to witness this kind of expansion of road. The government actually undergone a lot of resistance because some of the aboriginals here did not like the government decision into expanding the road. The values here at Boracay Island diverge from people to people. Some stakeholders, we call them, or those vested interest people, hate it when their residence or their houses were being torn down. The government has expanded the road from 6 meters to 12 meters, but even doing that, the government undergoes a very big resistance from some aboriginals here. This construction, as you can see, is almost cut in half. And you can see some steel rods here. So this used to be buildings. Was torn down during the closure. There is also some writings on the wall saying 0.25 meters, which means that this has exceeded the limits by a quarter of a meter. It has to be further torn down. Because of the road expansion, almost 1/3 of the roadside blocks were torn down. This used to be the wall of the building. So the first torn down didn't really meet the standard. Therefore, it needs the second torn down. So more than 3,200 illegal construction will be torn down. I'm sorry, that's 1,200 illegal construction will be torn down, and now only 200 were torn down. So there are still 1,000 left. Some of these posts will also be torn down. If you want to do that, you probably need to cut off the power too. So the residents might also experience a period of power shortage during the restoration. I think the government is pushing this effort very determinedly. If the owner is willing to cooperate, the work would went very smoothly. The government is confident to possibly reopen this island on October the 26th. But now this work is pushing smoothly, and people would think that it's possible to reopen as early as September. But that does not mean the end of restoration and reconstruction. I think this reconstruction will still go on even after it reopens. This government is quite democratic. It listens to the people's callings and decisions. It will surely reopen. But what about what happens after the reopening? Some forested areas, some wetlands were still occupied by some vested interest group. Therefore, the natural resources here, the ecological condition here, the wetland, the forests, their mere existence is the biggest treasure for Boracay Island. For us, Chinese who live here in Boracay, for example, one of our leader, Lucille Chen, had a very big project here to protect the forested area here in Boracay Island, to protect biodiversity, to guard against seawater erosions. So the Chinese people here have done a lot. As you mentioned, the wet island and the forest is very important to local ecology. That is also something that the government attaches importance to during this closure. The wetland area is resided by many local people. They've been there for generations. And these beautiful forestry area, also known as the mangrove forests, the local residents in this mangrove forest were moved to another location. It's like a resettle plan for them. And most of the residents warmly welcomed this decision, but some might worry that they might be far away from their kids who study here. But you can see the extent to which the government goes to protect the local environment. The government and the residents both made a lot of sacrifices. This area in Boracay Island used to be a very busy, it's a very busy street. It's about 4 kilometers long. It's a walking district. No cars or bicycles are allowed. On the one side is the big ocean. On the other side, there are some stores for recreation, for beach activities, for shops. And usually at 5 to 6 p.m., this place is very busy because from 5 to 6 is the only hours that the shops are allowed to open. And you can have dinner here and watch the fire dance performance at this business district. There are a lot of very well-known shops here on this street, right? Can you give us an instruction? We actually passed by one. That almost all the tourists who come here would go to that the mango shake shop. The mango comes from the Giros Island nearby. It is very high quality, but it's actually more expensive than your normal mango. That is the mango smoothie, very famous. And this is the ice cream store. And it's also very well known over the internet. This should be the bar for the fire dance. This bar is not it's not actually expensive. It will only cost you about 10 to 20 yuan for 1 cup of drink. This is a gift station for local souvenirs. It was also closed down. Here is a local little construction site. Some workers are busy working, bury these pipelines underneath. This is a very busy construction area. Let's not interrupt them. Along this road were restaurants, hotels. The workers we saw back then are exchanging this sewage treatment pipelines. They're replacing the sewage discharging pipelines because the old pipelines that did not meet the standard of the government. That's also one of the main reasons for the closing down of the island. So one of the biggest impact is on its business. There's basically no business here after closing down. This is a diving shop, closed also. Another bar, which used to be quite popular. This is one of the most popular hotels for Chinese tourists. The reason why people like Boracay Island is because of the hotels. Despite the fact that there was no international chains, hotel brands, it is because most of the hotels locates very near to the ocean. Therefore, it makes it quite difficult to maintain because the seawater is quite erosive. But the good thing is that you live right at the beach, at seaside. Also, this is the central business area. It is not quite noisy, but it's quite convenient for the guests to do some sightseeing or shopping or conduct some activities if you live here, if you stay here. We can see some school kids. This is a lot of students just left the schools. The water level is different from one day to another. It changes on daily basis, and it's a monthly cycle. It's related to some of the patterns of the lunar calendar. So about 5 o'clock on each day, there are a lot of people playing volleyballs or frisbees on the beach. In most hotels in Boracay, there were no swimming pools because the waves here is quite mild and the ocean here is quite suitable for swimming. It's a natural swimming pool for the tourists, therefore it's not necessary for hotels to have pools inside the hotels. Today we are witnessing actually the days with the bigger wave. Normal, it will be as smooth as mirror. It's ideal place for swimming. There almost were no accidents, swimming accidents. Of course, before swimming, you cannot drink alcohol. This is the protection shield. This is called the windbreaker to protect the buildings from being eroded by sea winds and sands. Today we experienced a very windy day because there is typhoon. It's quite windy. People asked if there is a lot of typhoons. This is what typhoon look like. This typhoon is actually about 50 to 100 kilometers away from Boracay Island. I've been living here for many years, and the Boracay seldom actually affect the living on this island. This island is beautiful in both sunny days and cloudy days. This is a very famous barbecue place called the Jerry's. People would ask what are the most famous local cuisine, and this will be on top of the recommendation list. It has another branch on this island. It's one of the most well-known place. One of the local dishes called sisig, made of pork and pig ears. And some people also like the soup, the beef soup, which is a little bit salty for my taste. Another dish is made of fish. It is like half raw and half cooked. You can find this cuisine in both the stalls, roadside stalls, and some classy restaurant. It's called Canilo. This place also is closed down. Almost all the shops that we passed by were closed down. This is the only Starbucks in Boracay Island, famous for its collection of local mugs, coffee mugs. Besides these big shops, there are some roadside stalls. For example, some of the draw-on tattoos, painted on tattoos. So where did these people go? There are about 40,000 registered workers and about 15,000 so-called freelance who just do their work at the beach, at the roadside. They will have no fixed shop, fixed location. They would just sit here with a chair, braiding people's hairs or draw patterns on their arms, on people's bodies. After the closing down, they do not have any. They lost all sorts of income, so they would have to leave the island and find work elsewhere. This is also another resort, very small resort. I heard that after the closing down, the Boracay Island actually went back to what it looks like in the 70s, and local people actually enjoyed it. I have friends from China asking me if they can come to this island with no tourists on it. There were no pollution, no noise, no pollution. I think that's true. But on the other hand, compared to the past, there are a lot of buildings torn down. But in the 70s, you even can see grasslands here. think the ecological condition is much better than now. I think this hotel is famous for its buffet. There are also live bands. This is a local brand, but its owner is actually from China. It's a family business, and they've been here for many years. The Chinese Philippines here are doing quite well because we are diligent, and we also have a very business mind. This resort is also closed down. The Philippines are quite optimistic. That's also one of the reasons why I chose to stay here. They don't have a very complicated mind. They are easy to be contented. However, the offside is that most people are living under the poverty line. A lot of people have difficulty even feed themselves. They do not make enough money to make a living, but they are naturally optimistic and kind. Therefore, it is in my hope to attract more Chinese people here, to develop the tourism here, and just to improve the well-being of the local people as well. We are 20, 30 years ahead of the Philippines in terms of development stage. China also went through this process of developing from poor to rich. I believe that we have a lot of experiences that can be introduced here. The so-called Chinese plan of lifting people out of poverty, I believe, will be very helpful to the local residents. Now it becomes sunny again. You can see some kids after school. They are playing football on the beach. I want to share some of my feelings after days of doing interview here. People say that the effect of the closing down and this relevant policy is quite good. One of the most prominent problems in the past is the E. coli contamination in the ocean water. So what's the situation now? This morning, I had this rare opportunity to go out to the ocean with the local environmental authorities to do some sampling and testing of the ocean. Let's see what happened in the morning.
This 这个就是我们今天在这个酒店附近的这个海域呢，对海水进行抽样的一段视频。然后大家可以看到呢，这个环境部的这个官员呢，他是整个人都已经进入到这个海水的深处。在没腰的这个位置对海水进行一个采样，然后这个采样完成之后呢，他拿到岸边上来。
We can see that the water is at waist length, and this official is taking the sample, and at the beach they will be doing a testing of the water sample. This is quite rare a situation because I've been here for 3 days. We didn't see any such activities conducted by the government. This is conducted by the Ministry of Environment. The local governments wanted to show to the press the improvement of the water. After the testing, we can tell you that This water is up to standard. Its pH value is 7, which is also within the allowing range, and the number of E. coli also is up to standard. So I can tell you for sure that the water here is safe and suitable for swimming. That's only after 2 months. We've already seen the policies taking effect. Believe this kind of change is also apparent to the local residents. Not long ago, we see some creatures, sea creatures, aquatic creatures, for example, whales swimming nearer to the beach, because in the past human activities have a heavy impact on the environment. After it closed down for 2 months, it's a very good restoration. I believe that the coral reefs and some other marine creatures in the sea were also experiencing some restoration. Do you know what's the red flag there is for? That is a sign saying that it's no longer allowed to swim in the water, because today it's very windy and there are big waves in the water. If the flag is in a color green, it's perfectly safe to swim. If it's a color yellow, you'll have to swim with more caution. And if it's red, it is forbidden to swim. Right now, the clouds and the storm has passed. We believe that the Boracay Island is known for its most beautiful sunset in the world. Let's take a look at this sunset. Today, it's perfect. There are no tourists, only the beautiful sunset. The government said that this closing down and the restoration work can finish ahead of time, and might see some soft openings by September, and the reopen will probably take place in October. I know that some of the hotels are already taking orders after October. We hope that after 6 months, this island can be restored, the ecological condition can be restored, and it can come back to its beauty. So what are your suggestions to the Chinese tourists who wants to see the island? For us local residents and businessmen, in this closing down of half a year, we made a lot of sacrifices. I hope that our sacrifice can be proved worthwhile. If you ever come here, please protect the environment, please respect the local ecology, please do not smoke on the island, please do not piss in the ocean. Let's protect this island as if it was your home. Treasure it and protect it. That is what we want to see after it reopens. So for any tourists who wish to come here, please remember that the beauty that you see is it's gained with a lot of sacrifices made by the local residents. So please be a very respectful, very civilized tourist. We look forward for the reopening of the Boracay Island. We hope that they can have a better and more beautiful future. This is the crown jewel of the Philippines. Hopefully can shine again. And also a very good connection between China and the Philippines can be a window for Chinese people to come to see what Philippines are like. Right now we are walking on the beach of Boracay Island, and we see this most beautiful sunset on this island. It's our honor to take you to see all this, and we look forward to the reopening of the island, welcoming guests from all over the world. With that, we end today's broadcast. Thank you for watching. I also want to thank Mr. Liu Tao for being in this program. Thank you.